In every family, there's a role you never signed up for but somehow got stuck with. For me, I was the quiet one. The background sister, the one who got decent grades, stayed out of trouble, and didn't ask for much. If my family were a stage play, my older sister, Danielle, would be the leading lady, poised, responsible, engaged to the perfect guy. My younger sister, Chloe, would be the chaos, loud, dramatic, spoiled beyond reason. And I was the lighting technician. You only noticed me when something went wrong. That was how life had always been. And for the most part, I didn't complain. I observed. I studied people. While Danielle had her law school acceptance letters and Chloe had her late-night parties and dramatic breakups, I had my notebooks, my books, and my silence. But silence doesn't mean ignorance. And being quiet doesn't mean you're blind. The night everything changed wasn't supposed to be special. Just a regular family dinner a week before Danielle's bridal shower. The table was set with our usual mismatched plates, Mom's meatloaf steaming in the center, and the soft hum of polite conversation buzzing like a mosquito. I remember the way Danielle smiled nervously at her fiancé Alex, brushing an imaginary speck off his sleeve like she always did when she was trying to impress him. I remember Dad's chuckle over something dry and unfunny, Chloe painting her nails at the table like she owned the house, and Mom scolding her half-heartedly. I was halfway through my mashed potatoes when Chloe, without looking up, said it. "I'm pregnant." The fork dropped from Danielle's hand. A few seconds passed before anyone spoke, long enough to stretch across a lifetime. But Chloe wasn't done. "And it's Alex's." The silence wasn't silent at all. It was filled with the cracking of something deep and irreversible. Danielle's eyes went wide, not with tears, not yet, just disbelief. Dad coughed. Mom gasped. And me? I froze. My spoon still hovered over my plate. Chloe was smiling. She looked proud. Proud of the grenade she'd just rolled under the table and the chaos she was about to watch erupt. Alex tried to speak, but no words came. His mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled too quickly from the water. Danielle, still locked in place, turned to him slowly. And that's when I saw it, the flicker of guilt in his eyes. Not confusion, not shock, just guilt. It was true, Dot, it's hard to describe what it feels like to watch a bomb go off in your own home and realize your family's doing nothing to stop the shrapnel. Chloe leaned back in her chair, swirling her water like it was champagne. Danielle stood up suddenly and knocked her glass over. Mom shrieked and grabbed napkins. Dad muttered something about discussing this later, and I sat there quietly, heart hammering in my chest, the potatoes turning cold on my tongue. That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed every detail over and over, the way Alex wouldn't meet Danielle's eyes, the way Mom rushed to Chloe's side like she was the victim, the way Chloe never once looked like she regretted anything. That's when I realized something was deeply wrong, not just with Chloe, but with how everyone responded. Like it was messy, sure, but forgivable. Like we'd all just move on, but I couldn't. I wouldn't. I wasn't Danielle heartbroken and blindsided. And I wasn't Chloe, reckless and smug. I was the one who saw things, who noticed when Alex started spending more time in the house under the excuse of helping with wedding planning, who remembered how Chloe's phone would light up at midnight with a message she'd instantly hide, who had heard muffled arguments through the bathroom door and had filed them away quietly. Like I always did. For years I had been the quiet one. But in that moment, something shifted inside me. Not rage, not yet, but a seed of something cold, calculating, and dangerous. I knew then what I would do. Not out of vengeance for Danielle, and certainly not out of loyalty to Chloe, but because someone had to hold them accountable. And if no one else would, I would. I started with the basics. Passwords, backups, screenshots. My fingers shook when I opened Chloe's old tablet, the one she forgot she left charging in the guest room. I knew her code. She never changed it, her birth year. I opened the messages. Dozens from Alex. Some romantic, some explicit. All time-stamped. All undeniable. By morning, I had enough to destroy them both. But I didn't act yet. I planned carefully, quietly, like I always had. And the best part, they still thought I was just the quiet one. The next morning felt like the eye of a hurricane, eerily calm, deceptively quiet. The The kind of quiet that makes your skin itch because you know it won't last. I came downstairs expecting to find the house still buzzing with last night's chaos, but instead Mom was frying eggs like it was just another Sunday. Dad was reading the newspaper, or at least pretending to. Danielle hadn't come out of her room. And Chloe? Chloe was humming. She actually hummed. I sat at the table across from her, watching the way she twirled her hair, scrolling through her phone like she hadn't detonated a bomb at dinner. She didn't look scared. She didn't even look ashamed. And the more I watched her, the more I realized this wasn't an impulsive moment of confession. This had been planned. The timing, the way she said it, the smile, this had been her grand entrance into something bigger. Chloe always needed to be the center of everything. If Danielle was getting married, then Chloe needed something louder. If Danielle was finally finding stability, Chloe needed to break it. I'd seen the pattern my whole life. But this was the most calculated move she'd ever made. Dad cleared his throat and finally spoke. We'll all talk again later today. As a family. Chloe didn't even lift her eyes. I already said what needed to be said. Danielle didn't come down for breakfast. I checked. On her after lunch tapping on her door like I used to when we were kids, and I wanted to sneak in and borrow her clothes. This time she didn't answer. I pushed the door open and found her sitting on the floor, back against the bed, her eyes glassy and hollow. Her engagement ring sat on the nightstand like it was mocking her. I don't even know who I'm mad at. She whispered without looking at me. Him? Her? Myself? She looked up then, and for the first time in my life, I saw Danielle completely cracked open. She had always been strong. The one who held it together. The one who made me feel like our family was still a family when everything else felt like a mess. But now, her whole world had collapsed, and our parents were pretending we could move on with omelets and small talk. I didn't say anything. I just sat beside her silently. And I promised myself something. If no one else would fight for her, I would. Danielle didn't deserve this. Not the betrayal. Not the silence. Not the gaslighting our parents had already started weaving. Muttering things like, it's complicated and we don't know all the facts yet. But I did know the facts. I'd seen the text. I'd heard the voice memos Chloe sent Alex, joking about stealing him fair and square. I'd seen the pictures he sent back. They were disgusting. And they were proof. Later that afternoon, Mom called for a family meeting. We all gathered in the living room like we were about to discuss seating arrangements for a barbecue. Chloe sat on one end of the couch, arms crossed and smug. Danielle didn't show. She was still locked in her room. Dad looked tired. Mom looked desperate to keep the walls from collapsing. She's young, Mom started. She made a mistake, and Alex, he should have known better. I almost laughed. A mistake? That wasn't a mistake. That was sabotage and lipstick and highlighter. She's pregnant, and that child is part of this family whether we like it or not, Mom continued, glancing at Chloe with watery eyes. My jaw clenched. That was it then. They were choosing Chloe. Again. They always did. Danielle had always been the overachiever, the good daughter. But Chloe always managed to make herself the victim in every disaster she created, and somehow, our parents kept rewarding her for it. She needs our support, Mom said, especially now. I stood up. I couldn't sit there anymore and watch them turn a betrayal into a sympathy campaign. Chloe's eyes flicked toward me like she was daring me to speak, but I didn't give her the satisfaction. Not yet. I had already started gathering evidence, and I wasn't about to waste it on an argument in the living room. Instead, I went to my room, opened my laptop, and began backing everything up. Screenshots, audio, metadata. I created multiple folders, encrypted some, and saved copies to a secure drive. I wasn't just reacting anymore, I was preparing. I didn't want justice just for Danielle. I wanted Chloe to feel what it meant to be exposed. I wanted the truth to scream louder than her manipulations ever could. That night, I heard Chloe talking to someone on the phone. She was laughing. Actually laughing. She said, "They'll get over it. They always do. I'll be the golden girl again by next month." That was her plan. Destroy Danielle, take the spotlight, and let the dust settle until everyone forgot what she'd done. But this time, the dust wasn't going to settle, because I had no intention of staying quiet anymore. Dinner the next night was supposed to be silent, tense at best. I expected awkward glances and forks scraping over porcelain, the usual soundtrack of a family trying to act like nothing was wrong. But I underestimated how much pain Danielle had stored behind her silence, and how close she was to breaking. She came down dressed in all black, her hair pulled back into a tight bun. Her eyes were swollen, yes, but steady, focused. She didn't sit beside anyone. She pulled a chair from the corner of the room and placed it at the far end of the table, like she was separating herself from the rest of us. Chloe was already seated, arms folded smugly, her belly barely visible under her oversized hoodie. Mom smiled nervously, trying to act like this could still pass for a normal family dinner. Dad cleared his throat 3 times before even pouring himself a glass of water. I sat on the opposite end of Chloe. I wanted a clear view of everything. The silence stretched for almost a full minute before Danielle spoke. So, when's the wedding? She asked, her voice like dry ice calm, but burning. Chloe blinked. What? Well, Danielle continued, cutting her steak with robotic precision. You're pregnant with my fiance's baby. Seems like the least you could do is marry him, right? You did win, after all. The knife in her hand clanked against the plate. Chloe paled. No one won, Mom said quickly, her voice trembling. This isn't a contest, girls. We're trying to move forward. Forward? Danielle slammed her fork down. Forward? You want to move forward from the fact that my baby sister was sleeping with my fiance and then announced it at dinner like a goddamn movie villain? Language, Dad snapped, finally finding his voice, but Danielle was already standing. You don't get to police my tone. Dad, not when you're sitting across from the person who destroyed my life and didn't even apologize. Chloe muttered, something too low for anyone to hear. Danielle turned to her. What was that? I said, Chloe repeated, louder this time. Maybe if you had paid more attention to him, he wouldn't have come to me. The sound that followed wasn't just a scream. It was primal. Danielle grabbed the ceramic serving dish and hurled it against the wall, where it shattered like thunder. Mom gasped. Dad stood up. Chloe ducked. I didn't move. Danielle pointed at Chloe, trembling now. You think you're special? You think being the favorite means you can ruin everyone around you and just ... Smile through it? I didn't plan this. Chloe shouted back. Yes, you did. You did exactly what you've always done. Turned everyone against each other, lead, smiled, cried your fake tears, and waited until people bent to your drama. But this time, I'm not bending. Mom was crying now, whispering, please stop, over and over like a prayer. But it was too late. Something had cracked in our family that couldn't be glued back together. Chloe looked at me then. You're just sitting there. Say something. I looked at her long and hard, and I said the first truth I'd let slip since this nightmare began. I already did. Chloe's eyes widened. Danielle turned to me, confused. What does that mean? I stood up and walked out without answering. Because the USB I dropped in, the school's anonymous reporting box the day before, it contained everything. The screenshots, the voice memos, the photos, the dates, the timestamps. Not just proof of the affair, but proof that Alex had done this before. That Chloe knew. He had thought by the next morning the school would know. The PTA would know. His employer would know. Their little secret, it was about to be on every phone in town. I wasn't loud. I wasn't dramatic. But I was done watching this family bend for a spoiled child with no conscience. Danielle deserved justice. And Chloe? She deserved consequences. And they were coming. Fast. The morning after Danielle's explosion felt like waking up in the eye of a hurricane. Quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that buzzes in your ears and tells you something's coming. Downstairs, I found Mom humming in the kitchen, frying. Eggs like the night before hadn't ended in broken plates and shattered trust. Chloe was on the couch scrolling her phone, pretending not to notice the silence. Danielle's room was locked. She hadn't come out. No one talked about the dinner. No. One talked about the fact that Chloe had openly declared herself pregnant by her older sister's fiancé. No. One talked about the screaming, or the plate against the wall, or the look in Danielle's eyes. Instead, Mom set plates like usual, Eat before it gets cold, girls. I stared at her like she was a stranger. She looked tired, older. Maybe in her mind, this was survival keeping the illusion that we were still one unit, one home. But the cracks were wide open now, and I wasn't going to help her paint over them anymore. That day at school, something changed. It started in whispers. A girl from student council eyed me curiously in the hallway. A senior from my chemistry class stopped mid-sentence when I walked. Bye! The worst was in the cafeteria. Someone I barely knew whispered, "Is it true about your sister and Mr. Mason?" That name, Mr. Mason, was Alex's last name. He wasn't just Danielle's fiancé. He was also one of the athletic trainers at our school. That detail had always made things more complicated, more taboo. And now it was out. I didn't answer anyone. I didn't need to. The USB had done its job. By 3 p.m. The school board was in emergency session. By 6 p.m. Mr. Mason's Instagram was gone. By 9 p.m. Someone had started a group chat titled "Pregnant with her sister's fiancé." I wish I could say I felt proud or vindicated, but honestly, I just felt still. I wasn't seeking revenge for myself. I was watching justice walk into a space that had ignored Danielle's pain and my silence for too long. At home, Mom's illusion cracked further. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends, church ladies, TA members, everyone asking questions, some pretending to care, others tasting blood in the water. She tried to shield Chloe from it, but it was too late. Chloe's friends weren't answering her texts. Her boyfriend, if he could still be called, that was off social media completely. Danielle still wasn't speaking. And me? I stayed quiet but observant. Like always. Then the email came. A teacher had forwarded it to every parent in the district. Anonymous tip, screenshots attached. One was a message from Chloe to Alex saying, "I'm glad she's crying. She never deserved you anyway." That's when the fire started for real. At dinner, Chloe slammed her phone on the table. "You ruined my life." Danielle looked up finally from her plate. "No, you did. I'm pregnant. And that baby will grow up knowing who its mother really is." Chloe looked to me, desperate. "Why aren't you saying anything?" I met her eyes and said, "Because I already said everything that mattered to the right people." She turned red, threw her napkin on the table, and left. Mom begged us all to stop. She made a mistake. She's young. But the problem was Chloe had never faced consequences before. And now that they were here, she wanted to pretend she hadn't built this entire situation from scratch. Danielle stood. "You keep defending her, Mom. Just know when she burns down your world too, don't come looking for me." The next day, Danielle moved in with a friend. Chloe didn't go to school, and I kept watching because I had one more piece to play, and it was bigger than screenshots. It was a recording, one I hadn't shared yet, of Chloe laughing, mocking Danielle, saying she was too boring to ever keep a man, that she only wanted Alex because she hated being the second favorite, that she'd never wanted a baby, but at least it would ruin Danielle's perfect little life. That file was still on my laptop, and it wasn't staying there forever. I don't know exactly when I became the one who planned everything, and maybe it started long before Chloe's bomb at dinner. Maybe it was the years of being overlooked, the quiet one, the background character in a family where loudness equaled importance. Chloe was always the star. Danielle was the achiever. And me? I was the observer. The one who knew how to blend in, to listen between the words, to catch the things no one else noticed. That night at dinner, I stopped being quiet. Not with words, but with action. What Chloe didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had already started documenting things weeks before everything exploded. It began with my gut. Something about Alex had always rubbed me the wrong way. Not just the way he looked at Chloe when he thought no one was watching, or the awkward silences that fell when Danielle mentioned wedding planning. It was the tension, the glances, the way Chloe once whispered on the phone and hung up when I walked by. It didn't take a genius, just someone who paid attention. So I started saving things. Screenshots, photos, little voice memos Chloe accidentally left open on her phone. She had this habit of recording voice messages instead of typing. It was lazy, cocky, and her biggest mistake. One file was her laughing to a friend. Danielle's so uptight. She didn't even notice we were hooking up for months. Another one, he said he's only with her for the image. But I'm the one he wants. I saved it all. I backed up everything to a cloud drive with a password only I knew. Then I copied the files to a USB. I labeled it something stupid. Bio Final Review. No one would ever guess. The school board was already drowning in drama from the initial leak, but I hadn't sent the worst yet. I waited. I watched Chloe unravel. She stopped going to school. Her stomach grew. But her friends didn't come around. She posted a baby shower invite. No one liked it. No comments. Danielle moved out. She blocked Chloe. Blocked Mom. But not me. Night, she messaged me. Did you do it? I replied, only what was necessary. Then came the night Mom cried at the kitchen table. I was finishing a paper for English. She had Chloe's ultrasound in one hand and her phone in the other. She was whispering, pleading with someone. I heard, you can't take the job offer back over rumors. Please, she's pregnant. She hung up, wiped her face, and noticed me. You're happy about this, aren't you? No, I said. I'm just not surprised. Her eyes narrowed. You're not innocent in all this, you know? I didn't reply. Because by now, I realized something. Being innocent wasn't the same as being silent. And silence had never protected me or Danielle. It had protected Chloe, but not anymore. The next day, I met with Ms. Voss, my school's guidance counselor. I asked if we could talk off the record. I told her everything, not just about the affair, but the manipulation, the rumors, the way Danielle was treated like she'd done something wrong while Chloe played victim. Ms. Voss listened, carefully. She didn't say much, but when I handed her the USB and walked away, I knew I'd just set off the next domino by the weekend. 3 things happened. Alex was called into an official HR hearing at his workplace. Chloe's name was trending on a local forum after someone anonymously posted a thread titled, Guess which teen just blew up her sister's wedding? My mother's social circle collapsed. She lost a speaking invitation at a charity gala. The PTA removed her from the Parent Excellence Committee. None of that made me feel triumphant. It made me feel steady. Balance. Like gravity had finally returned after years of spinning around Chloe's chaos. And yet, I hadn't even played the final card because I still had the recordings. And one of them had Chloe talking about someone else. Someone younger, a girl. A classmate Danielle once mentored. Chloe had said, he kissed her once. She was too scared to tell anyone. But it's not like anyone would believe her over him. That audio hadn't been shared yet, but I was about to make sure the girl it was. About heard it first, because this wasn't just about Danielle anymore. It was about every person. Chloe and Alex had heard while smiling like angels, and I wasn't staying quiet another second. Graduation day was supposed to be a celebration. Cats tossed into the sky, parents beaming with pride, the scent of fresh flowers clinging to warm air. For most people, it still was. But for me, it was something else. Entirely, it was the moment I stopped hiding in the background. The day I made sure that silence was no longer an ally to people like Chloe and Alex, I wore my gown like armor. Every pin, every tassel felt heavier than it should have, because I knew what I was carrying with me wasn't just a diploma. It was a reckoning. I walked into the auditorium with the USB drive tucked in the lining of my bag, labeled as usual something mundane, something no one would suspect. I had timed it all carefully. Ms. Voss had done her part. She had called an emergency staff meeting earlier that week. She had mentioned a serious matter involving student safety. What she didn't tell them, what only a few of us knew, was that she had looped in a parent from the PTA who had experience with legal cases involving minors. That parent had a daughter, and that daughter was the same girl Chloe had mentioned in the voice message. The one Alex had kissed, the one no one had believed. Until now, I watched from my seat as that girl, sitting just a few rows ahead of me, in her pale blue gown, opened the envelope I had passed to her through a trusted friend. Inside was a flash drive and a note. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You were never alone. Her eyes widened. She looked around, confused, emotional, but she held it tightly. That was all I needed. During the ceremony, as names were called and applause rose like waves in a storm, the next part of the plan fell into place. Someone uploaded the full audio clips to the school's parent group chat. Someone else posted them anonymously on a private forum where local teachers and staff often discussed internal politics and misconduct. And someone, with perfect timing, slipped an envelope marked confidential onto the ethics committee desk. It took less than 15 minutes for the whispers to begin. Parents started looking at their phones. Teachers glanced at each other. One walked out of the room mid-ceremony. Alex was there too. He had come to support a cousin graduating. He didn't see me, but I saw him. His face changed the second his phone buzzed. One glance at the screen and his fake grin cracked. He stood up too fast, bumped into someone, knocked over a bouquet. He left the room like it was on fire. By the time my name was called, people weren't clapping anymore, they were talking. Quietly, urgently. The principal leaned toward another administrator with a pale expression. My mother, seated near the back, had that look again, like she knew something was coming but hoped to God she was wrong. I accepted my diploma with a polite smile and left the stage, knowing the next steps were already happening behind the scenes. Later that afternoon, I received a message from the girl Chloe had mocked in the recording. All it said was, "Thank you." I thought I was crazy. That night, I got home to find our front porch quiet, our mailbox stuffed with flyers and junk. But there was one envelope, on top handwritten with my name. Inside was a card that read, "You saved more people than you know." I didn't know who M was. Maybe the girl's mom. Maybe a teacher. It didn't matter. What mattered was that the narrative had shifted. Chloe wasn't the star anymore. Alex wasn't untouchable. My mother couldn't shield her favorite child from the fallout. The story had new protagonists now, those of us who had been quietly collecting the truth, who didn't throw tantrums or make dramatic scenes, who didn't scream to be heard but documented what mattered and waited for the right moment to speak. Graduation day was the beginning of the end for them, and the start of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. And freedom I was learning didn't come from revenge. It came from truth. It started with a meme. A poorly edited image of Chloe's baby shower invitation, photoshopped with a giant red flag in the background and the words, "When your sister's fiancé, your baby daddy, and your RSVP list is just your mom." Cruel? Yes, but no more cruel than the silence she had once weaponized against me and Danielle. The meme wasn't made by me, but I won't lie, I saved it. It wasn't about enjoying her pain. It was about knowing people finally saw what we'd lived with. Within hours of the recordings being leaked, Chloe's name was everywhere. Local gossip pages lit up. The school forum exploded with threads dissecting every detail, from the betrayal to the text to her smug tone in those voice messages. Teen drama became community outrage. But this wasn't some scandal people could joke about and move on. It involved betrayal, predatory behavior, and someone who had gone out of her way to destroy her own sister's life for the sake of attention. Chloe had always curated her image carefully. Instagram perfect smiles, hashtag blessed brunches, soft filters, and inspirational captions like "loyalty is everything" and "family over everything." Now those same posts are being flooded with comments. "Girl, seriously? Is this before or after you stole your sister's fiancé? You really posted this while hooking up with him?" She tried turning off comments. That only made things worse. Her best friend, a girl named Tasha, who used to follow Chloe around like a shadow, posted a vague story. Funny how some people smile for pictures while planning to ruin lives. People connected the dots. Chloe unfollowed Tasha. Then Tasha posted screenshots, messages Chloe had sent her, bragging about being the better sister, calling Danielle boring and too uptight to keep a man. Danielle didn't reply publicly. She didn't have to. The truth had done its job. Then came the next crack. Alex lost his job. I don't know who sent the audio recordings to his HR department, but I know they received them. My mom tried to act shocked, saying it was just gossip, but someone in HR apparently disagreed. especially after the part where Chloe hinted that Alex had a thing for younger girls and was careful to keep it quiet. That part wasn't just scandal. It was dangerous, and the community treated it that way. Chloe's social media pages went dark for 3 days. When she returned, it was with a post that tried to reframe the entire situation as her side of the story. It was a black and white selfie, no makeup, captioned, "We all make mistakes. I'm just a young woman trying to find love and healing." The comments were brutal. "Is that what you call seducing your sister's fiancé? This ain't healing, it's manipulation. You need therapy, not followers." But the worst betrayal, at least from Chloe's perspective, came from her squad. The 5 girls she used to tag on every post, the ones she'd go to brunch with, the ones she would gossip with behind closed doors, started removing her from group photos, deleting old posts, changing captions. One even posted a new story that simply said, "So glad we see her for who she really is now." Chloe stopped leaving the house. She started wearing big hoodies and sunglasses in public. At the grocery store, I overheard 2 moms whispering about her in the cereal aisle. "Isn't that the girl? The one from the audio leaks?" She heard them. She walked out without buying anything. My mother begged me to please help her heal. I told her healing starts with honesty. Chloe hadn't apologized. She hadn't even tried. Her only move was to spin the story, protect her image, and act like she was the true victim. And people were done pretending to believe her. Even our extended family who once adored her started fading away. An uncle canceled the invitation to his daughter's baby shower. A cousin posted a Bible verse about betrayal and tagged Danielle Daw, and through it all, Chloe clung to the one thing that gave her comfort, her pregnancy. She posted about it constantly. Belly updates, craving lists, nursery photos. She tried to shift the narrative to look at the beautiful life I'm bringing into the world. But the comments never stopped asking, and does that life know it came from betrayal? Eventually, she turned off comments entirely, then deleted the post, then deleted the account, the girl who once lived for validation, who curated her life like a brand, was gone, and all that remained was the silence she had once gifted us. Only this time, it wasn't protective. It was isolating. And for the first time, I think she finally understood what it meant to be alone. The house felt heavier after Chloe disappeared from social media. Not quieter, just heavier, like every room was holding its breath. My mother walked around like she was stepping on eggshells that she herself had laid. Her voice, once so commanding, had softened into something brittle. She started making breakfast again, as if scrambled eggs and orange juice could erase what had happened, as if she could butter over betrayal. But we weren't playing house anymore. Not after what Chloe had done. Danielle barely spoke. She moved like she was made of glass. Every time her phone buzzed, she flinched. Every room she entered, she scanned first, like she was bracing for another ambush. She hadn't cried much, not even after the dinner bombshell or the public fallout, but grief clung to her like perfume. It was there in her silence, in the way she stopped humming in the shower, and how she turned off music when love songs came on, and yet Mom kept pushing the same line. "She's pregnant. She's still your sister." As if biology was a reset button. As if a heartbeat in Chloe's belly erased the knives in Danielle's back. I tried to be civil. I really did. But watching my mom choose Chloe, again and again, cracked something deep inside me. It wasn't even about siding with her. It was about the way she begged us to make peace, but never once asked Chloe to make things right. "You've made your point," she whispered one night, holding my arm like a hostage negotiator. "Everyone hates her already. Isn't that enough?" I pulled away. "She didn't just ruin Danielle's wedding," I said. "She destroyed her trust, her sense of safety. And now you want us to be the ones who let it go? Because of a baby." "She's scared," Mom said, eyes welling. She's going to be a mother." She wasn't scared when she posted selfies with Alex in her stories, when she laughed about it in those recordings, when she called Danielle weak. She was proud. My mom said nothing, just sat down, defeated. That was the moment I realized. She wasn't trying to fix the family. She was trying to keep the illusion of one. But the illusion shattered even more 2 days later when we got the envelope. Danielle opened it first, then froze. Her fingers trembled as she handed it to me. Inside was a printed email chain. Anonymous source. No signature. But the content was undeniable. Alex had been under internal investigation at his former job, not just for his relationship with Chloe, but for inappropriate messages sent to multiple underage girls through private tutoring apps. He had used burner accounts, sent money, promised modeling referrals. It wasn't just morally wrong, it was criminal. The sender also attached screenshots. Names redacted, but some girls were as young as 15. We sat in silence. Danielle clutched the edges of the envelope like it might catch fire. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. Then came the worst part. Chloe knew, not just suspected. She had seen one of the messages on his phone a month before the wedding dinner. She confronted him and he told her it was just flirting, and the girl exaggerated instead of warning anyone. She believed him. She chose him. Danielle didn't scream. She didn't break anything. She just walked out of the room and sat on the porch swaying for 3 hours. The next morning, my dad showed up. We hadn't seen him since the fallout. He lived 2 towns over with his second wife. He never liked getting involved in girl drama, as he called it. But apparently, he had seen the community threads, and he wanted to know the truth. I handed him the envelope. He read every word, then asked for Chloe's address. She's staying with a friend, Mom said. She won't be, he replied coldly. Not once this reaches the authorities. Mom burst into tears. Please, don't turn on her. She's still our daughter. Dad's face hardened. She's a mother now, which means every bad choice she makes affects more than just herself. Danielle didn't even look up. She just whispered, "It's not about revenge. It's about safety." And so the report was made. We didn't expect Chloe to be arrested. She hadn't committed the crimes herself. But being complicit, especially with proof that she knew, meant her clean slate was gone. She was interviewed by social services. Her friend kicked her out. She tried calling Mom, then me. Then Danielle. None of us picked up. That week, the community Facebook group turned again, not with memes this time, but with questions. Why hasn't she been seen? Wasn't she due soon? Didn't she used to post every day? Mom stopped going to church. Dad stopped replying to texts. Danielle deleted her old wedding Pinterest board. And me? I studied. I got into my dream university. I spent nights reading legal forums, trauma psychology, and how to help survivors recover from betrayal, because that's what we were. In the end, survivors. Chloe had always seen herself as the center of the universe, but now the galaxy kept spinning without her, and that was just the beginning. I saw the photo before I heard the news. It popped up on my feed one night, around midnight, like an echo of a life we had already left behind. Chloe in a dimly lit hospital room, hair flat and face puffy, holding a baby wrapped in the standard issue pink and blue blanket. No balloons, no flowers, no visitors in the background. Just her and the child, and even the baby looked unsure. Like it already sensed the loneliness into which it had arrived. The caption was simple. He's here. 6 pounds 9 ounces. Love of my life. No name. No tag location. No one else tagged. Either. Danielle saw it a few hours later. She didn't say anything, just handed me her phone with the image pulled up, her face unreadable. I half expected a bitter smile or a snide comment, but she just shook her head, handed me the phone, and left the room. That silence said everything. No one from our family had gone to the hospital, not even our mother. And not because we didn't know when or where, it's because Chloe didn't tell us. She gave birth alone, and it looked like she planned it that way. Maybe out of pride, maybe out of shame, maybe because she knew no one would come even if she begged. I kept checking the posts that day, refreshing, watching the comments. At first, a handful of old friends posted hearts or congrats, but nothing from the people who had once been closest. Her high school crew was silent. Her ex-friends from the church youth group, silent. Even the women from the online mommy forums she used to live on didn't say a word. I wondered if she noticed the silence, if she scrolled and scrolled, waiting for anyone to show up in the comments. But it stayed like that for days. And I think that hurt her more than anything else we ever did because this wasn't revenge. This was consequence. We didn't isolate her. We didn't cancel her. We didn't smear her name. She did all of that herself. And the ones who once cheered her on, the ones who laughed at her stories and liked her couple posts with Alex, had now vanished. Like she was contagious. Mom saw the photo too. I know she did because I found her crying in the laundry room that night. She was holding an old baby blanket, one of Chloe's, from when she was born. She didn't say a word when I asked if she was okay. Just held that fabric like it could rewind time. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then I remembered how she defended Chloe, how she begged us to forgive because of the baby. As if being pregnant had been a punishment instead of a choice. As if carrying that child absolved her of every lie, every betrayal, every smug look across the dinner table. Danielle didn't cry. Not once. She kept to herself, went to therapy, started sketching again. I think that was her healing, reclaiming space in her own life. Quiet power. Meanwhile, Chloe's world kept shrinking. 2 weeks after the birth, someone sent me a photo from outside the pediatrician's clinic. Chloe was standing alone on the curb, pacing, holding the baby like a shield. No car seat, no stroller, just her trying to call a ride. The woman next to her was offering a number to a taxi company, and Chloe looked lost, like she had finally realized she couldn't charm or cheat her. Way out of this one, the father, Alex, wasn't in the picture. We'd heard rumors that he was being investigated, that he'd been reported by another girl, that he might face charges. Chloe never posted about him again. The man she'd sacrificed her sister for had vanished from her life before the baby even arrived. That part. That was poetic justice. And the baby, he didn't choose any of this. That child had done nothing wrong. He was born into a storm he couldn't possibly understand, and it broke something in me knowing that his mother, at least for now, still saw herself as the victim. One night, I sat in bed and typed a long message to her. I thought about sending it, about telling her I didn't hate her, that I hoped she'd get better for the baby's sake, not ours. But then I thought of Danielle, of the way she used to hold herself like she mattered, of how she stopped shrinking in rooms, of how she smiled now, not often, but when she did, it was real. I deleted the message. Some people earn redemption. Others just wait for someone to hand it to them. And Chloe? She was still waiting. We heard she tried reaching out to some of our extended cousins, that she invited our aunt to the baby's 1-month milestone. No one went. She made another post, this one more desperate, with hashtags like #strongmom and #newbeginnings and #family first. Double quotes, but again, silence. Even silence, when earned, is loud. And I think she was finally hearing it. It happened on a Tuesday morning I'll never forget. I was standing at the entrance of the school where I now work, holding a clipboard, scanning the faces of parents walking in for a volunteer meeting. The kind of day that's routine and forgettable until it's not. I saw her before she saw me. Chloe. Her hair was shorter, her posture different, and she held the hand of a little boy, maybe 5 or 6. He had her same sharp jawline, the same. Intense eyes, but softer, kinder. The kind of kid who didn't yet know what shadows clung to his name. She froze when our eyes met, just for a second, like her breath caught in her chest. And mine did too. Not out of fear, not out of anger, out of something colder. Distance. She approached slowly, the child still holding her hand. She looked tired, not exhausted in the way new. Mothers look, but worn, like life had sanded her down at every edge. There was no arrogance left, no performance. Just someone I used to know. "Hey," she said, barely above a whisper. I nodded. "Hey." The pause between us stretched long. The silence wasn't heavy, it was fragile. Like we both knew one wrong word could shatter everything. "I didn't know you worked here," she said, glancing at the school's logo on my badge. Her voice trembled, trying to sound casual. "Counselor," I replied simply. She smiled weakly. "That suits you." Another pause. The little boy tugged her hand. "Mom, is she our family?" Chloe knelt to him, brushing his hair back. "Yes, sweetie, she's my sister." He looked up at me, expectant. "So you're my aunt?" The word hit harder than I expected. I crouched down to his level and forced a small smile. Yeah, I guess I am. He grinned like he'd unlocked a new level in a game. And then he did something I hadn't prepared for. He hugged me. Just a brief, innocent hug. But it felt like someone had placed a glass heart in my hands and dared me not to drop it. Chloe looked like she might cry. When the boy ran off toward the playground, she stayed. I know I don't deserve anything from you, she said. Not forgiveness, not family, not even a hello. But I wanted to try. For him, I didn't speak, not yet. I watched the boy chase after other kids, laughing, unaware of how many bridges had been burned before he ever learned the word. I ruined everything, she whispered. I thought I was strong. I thought I could fix it later. But the truth is, I broke something I didn't know how to heal. And I miss you, both of you. She didn't ask to be forgiven, not directly. And maybe that was the first time Chloe ever truly understood humility. I thought about the years Danielle spent rebuilding herself, about the therapy, the fear of trusting anyone again, the nights she couldn't sleep, the days I walked her through panic attacks, about how we finally had peace. Not because we won, but because we let go. So I stood up and looked Chloe in the eyes. I'm glad your son has you, I said. And I hope you're a better mother than you were a sister. She blinked, nodded slowly. That was the closest thing to closure we were going to get. I'm not angry anymore, I added. But I'm not coming back. Not into your life. Not into the past. I've made peace with where we are now. Her lips parted, maybe to argue, maybe to beg, but she didn't. She just nodded again. Like she understood. Like she finally understood. As she turned to leave, she looked over her shoulder and said, if he ever needs family, can I tell him about you? I smiled. A real one this time. You won't have to. One day, he'll figure it out himself. Because kids see more than we think. And one day that boy will grow up and ask real questions. And maybe, just maybe, he'll learn not just who betrayed who, but who chose to heal instead of hate. And maybe that will be enough. I turned back to the school building. Another day, another generation, another chance to be better than what we came from. And as I walked inside, I realized something I hadn't admitted out loud in years. I wasn't the quiet one anymore. I was the one who remembered and moved on.